To have watched this for the first time in 1964, to not know what was going to happen in this episode, in this week of Doctor Who, and then to see that Dalek rise out of the River Thames, that would have been something else. I can only imagine. This would establish that new mode, possibly my favourite mode of Doctor Who, certainly in the classic run, well, in general, obviously. This idea of that classic Jumper Tweed quote where he claimed a Yeti on a toilet seat in the London subway underground was a lot scarier than some alien on the planet Zarg or whatever. It's the uncanny factor, the weird factor of the ordinary, seemingly mundane London environment. It seems as though, it's shot on, the television video. It seems like it's some BBC documentary. And then all of a sudden, what are these things walking around London, huh? Especially in the black and white era, where you have this very documentary flavour almost. It's easy to imagine these as very slice of life pieces of footage, and then all of a sudden these strange creatures out of a strange, uncanny other dimension, out of a nightmare, that they pop into the frame. Daleks, Cybermen, abominable snowmen, Autons, Zygons. It's some of my favourite material in the history of the classic Doctor Who run. And the Dalek invasion of Earth is seemingly where it all begins. It is far and away probably my favourite serial of the Hartnell era. But today, perhaps we ought to more talk about this first episode of the Dalek invasion of Earth. It reminded me of what Danny Boyle would later go for in 28 Days Later. I wonder how much Where Is Everybody, media that had been prior, especially using London as its context. It's really brilliant and atmospheric, and I think the set design is fantastic. For a television show, they really tried hard and put effort into this particular serial. I'm quite impressed. What initially appears to be a race of humans with robotic hats on their heads appear to be of controlling the Earth, but then it turns out their bosses, rather, are the Daleks. We have not seen them since the second serial, and now here they are. Apparently it was Terry Nation's idea, or so I've read. They asked Terry Nation to do another Dalek serial, and he said, well, we've got to bring them to our doorsteps this time. That's how we're going to make it scarier, isn't it? And they did, and the idea of, a Dalek coming around the corner of a British suburb, it's just one of the most magical scenarios of all. I think if it is anything that is elevating this particular serial, I think it's the consistent production values, the way it effectively, they use these sets to effectively elevate a mood. They use, inserts of actual London and Daleks and Resistance members, the Doctor and or his companions running about from Daleks. And then they really immerse you in this environment. You feel like you're there. You wonder what you would do if you're in that situation. And it's an effectively realised future timeline of Earth, to some extent, an alternate 1964, let's say, post. It's one of the most effectively realised other worlds in classic Doctor Who, partly because they show a bit of restraint. They know if they go too far, it's not going to look convincing, especially in 1964, so they were very careful. And also because, the black and white photography gives it a sense of old documentary realness that the colour photography era may have to have been a bit more careful to achieve, I'd say, or perhaps couldn't quite in the same exact manner. So that's all I have to say here, I think, on episode 1 of the Dalek Invasion of Earth. There is more I would like to say, or certainly could say. I'd prefer to save it for episodes 2 to 6, at least, for now. But thanks for viewing, if you have, and if you're so inclined, view episode 2 of our retrospective on the Dalek Invasion of Earth. Have the best possible day, night you could ever imagine, my dear friends. Thanks again.